What's going on, everyone? So, Jared Vanderbilt. The Los Angeles Lakers were shopping Jared Vanderbilt in the offseason as well as around the trade deadline. Obviously, they didn't trade Jared Vanderbilt. They ended up keeping him. And I do think Jared Vanderbilt is an important piece, right? He's an assignment guy. That's what he is. He's a liability offensively, right? But in his time, he's an excellent rebounder, hustle play, dirty work guy, can be that clamp guy. He hasn't quite still looked like the Jared Vanderbilt we saw, a couple seasons ago pre-injury, right? It still seems like his timing's not all the way there. He's almost like a step slower than he has been, but he's still good. He's still rebounding excellently. He's offensive rebounding the ball excellent. And he's a piece that could be very valuable, right? Especially come playoff time when games and series are ultimately decided in a lot of ways, especially in the later rounds, by just like little sequences, right? You get that offensive rebound that leads to a three, or, you get that key turnover, or, you get the key charge or whatever, right? Diving for the loose ball, all these things. Great example was the Lakers Nuggets series last season, right? Lakers looked like it was going to be their series, and then all of a sudden, Aaron Gordon gets the offensive rebound, kicks it out to Michael Porter Jr. He hits the three, which I believe tied the game at that time. And then they ended up winning, and it completely changed the series, right? Those are the kind of things, those are the differences that can make or break, your series and your season and your playoffs, right? So Jared Vanderbilt, I do think, is an important piece, but I don't think he's somebody that is so insanely valuable that there's zero chance to trade him. Like, I don't think he's untradeable, untouchable by any stretch. I wouldn't just give him away. I wouldn't just trade him as just like salary filler or anything. But if you can find the right value for him, then yes, it makes sense. Like, if you can turn him into a legit two-way guy, even if he's not as good as a Jared Vanderbilt defensively, but he's good defensively, but is just better offensively and can hit the three ball, right? I would take that. It just obviously, again, depends on what the circumstances are, things like that. Or if you could get a center, right? For whatever reason, we'll just use Mark Williams as an example. If Charlotte was like, hey, we want Jared Vanderbilt, then yeah, I would do something like that, right? Like, obviously it'd be more than Jared Vanderbilt, but they're like, hey, we really want like a defensive wing. Sure. Here you go, right? And we can get a center. If it's something that makes sense, if it's something that fills a hole in a key need, because again, Jared Vanderbilt, he is an assignment guy, right? Even when he came back from injury and I broke down him and his play and how he fits on the team and all that stuff, I talked about how more likely than not, he's going to just be an assignment guy. You're playing the Warriors, you see Steph, Vando, lock him down for, 10 minutes a game, 4 minutes a quarter, 3 minutes a quarter, whatever. And he can kind of hone in and focus and then do the dirty work, rebound, all of that. Well, reports came out per The Athletic that talking about, a potential Jared Vanderbilt trade and kind of the value, right? That Jared Vanderbilt doesn't really have the value in the league that the Lakers perceive him to have. Now, more often than not, that's just the general rule, right? Even, LeBron, right? He has more value and is looked at higher by the Lakers than he might be by other teams, right? Because it's the selling point. Even if another team likes LeBron more than the Lakers do. I'm just using him as an example, but I'm just saying, it's how it always go. You value your player like they are, even if they're a role player, you value them like they are a star, but other teams value them as like they're, the worst role player in the NBA because that's where you want the negotiations to be, right? If you're on the other end and you're like, man, Jared Vanderbilt, that guy's the best defender in the league, right? Like, what do we do? Like, now all of a sudden Rob Pelinka's like, I got you in my back pocket type thing, right? So that's, just the general rule here. However, I do think he doesn't have the value that a legit two-way guy would. Yes, he is great. Yes, when he is full-fledged Jared Vanderbilt, elite defensively. He's arguably the best defensive on-ball player in the entire NBA when healthy, right? And when he's not missing a step or things like that, right? And his hustle play, his dirty work, all those things. But the problem is he's such a liability offensively that he's until that gets corrected, if that ever gets corrected, he's probably never going to be more than an assignment guy for any team. Because you have that offensive liability with him out there. Unless you're just constantly running, actions where he's kind of in the dunker spot of the roll man. But even then, that's limited, right? You're not going to be able to constantly drive a kick and do all these other fancy things that many of these offenses in the league like to do. So he's not a guy that you can play 30, 35 minutes a night. He's a guy that you're probably playing around 15 minutes a night, just, again, on assignment. So the value to him to other teams, I do believe, is probably lower than the Lakers, because right now the Lakers need a guy like him. Right? Lakers' biggest problem, even before the Luka trade, even for years now, have been the Lakers have too many one-dimensional guys. They have a bunch of guys that are really good offensively and terrible defensively, or really good defensively and terrible offensively. And it's like, if we could just mesh those two together, like if you could take Rui Hachimura and Jared Vanderbilt and do the fusion dance into turning them into, Vanderui or whatever, right? Like, now the Lakers are set. They have probably the best two-way guy in the league at that point, right? Like, that's the thing. So any team that's trading for Jared Vanderbilt, it becomes tricky for the Lakers, because the Lakers, they do value him. He is a important piece. He is a piece that I do think can be the difference in a game, not in the traditional sense, right? A lot of the stuff that he does isn't really accounted for, right? And even on the offensive side of things, he does still have an impact, just, again, not in the traditional sense. And what I mean by that is, traditionally, you think of an offensive player beating guys off the dribble, getting to the basket, right? Elevating, shooting over the top, or catch and shoot three-point shot, right? Like, Jared Vanderbilt doesn't do any of that stuff. Yeah, he could be the cutter, dunker spot guy, things like that, so he can get a couple points there. He's generating offense for the Lakers by more opportunity. Right? So he is a guy that's creating turnovers, live ball turnovers, right? He's a guy that is getting offensive rebounds. I mean, even in the Warriors game, he played limited minutes and still gave you 7 rebounds, 3 of which were offensive, right? So he's a guy that's chasing down those loose balls, is giving you second chance opportunities to, create more offense. And then also just the defensive rebounds. Right? Defense doesn't stop until you get the rebound. So Jared Vanderbilt getting that defensive rebound, and now we're heading in the other direction, again, generates more offense, gives us more opportunity. So he is still impacting the offense, just not to the way that, gets noticed by most people on that side. You have to understand that, like, he just got an offensive rebound and that leaked out to another 3, a kick out 3, that's 3 points, right? Like, we don't get that 3 points if it wasn't for Jared Vanderbilt grabbing that offensive board, right? So it's those little things that, again, can be the difference. Be the difference in you winning a game or two, right? Jared Vanderbilt goes into a game and he ends up getting 2, 3, 4 offensive rebounds, and that leads to, 9, 12 points, whatever, in second chance opportunities. That could be the difference between you winning or losing a game, winning or losing a series. So I do think that there is a value for the Lakers, and I do understand why the Lakers have this high value, but I do understand why other teams would not perceive Jared Vanderbilt and have the same kind of hype for him that the Lakers would, right? Because he, right now, as the team is constructed, he's a guy that the Lakers really need. Right? Somebody that you can throw out there that can defend 1 through 5, that can defend guards and do it at a high level, but also offensive rebound, do all the dirty plays, do all the hustle work, right? Where other teams, they want two-way guys, right? But so do the Lakers. Right? If the Lakers get a bunch of two-way guys in the offseason, how much does Jared Vanderbilt even play at that point? Right? Or do you play him to try to raise his value? Now, if he has, an insane playoff run or whatever, right? Like what you saw in 2023, right? Where he's out there and he's clamping up Steph and he's doing all this stuff. Then I could see a team being like, man, okay, he's back, right? He's been healthy. Because you have this perception, right? He looks like he's missed a step, right? He doesn't look like peak Jared Vanderbilt. Right? Now, part of that could be just lack of minutes stuff. But again, it's hard to play him 30 plus minutes when you don't get anything from him offensively. So, and you already lack the interior side. There's already so many holes. You don't have Anthony Davis and stuff to kind of mask things to where, if Jared Vanderbilt isn't absolute clamps, best defensive player in the league, it becomes hard, even if he's just a good a great defensive player, because he is still one of our better defensive players, right? And his versatility and stuff, and his hustle plays and dirty work and stuff. And he's had games where he's had these incredible impacts. But if he has a game where he's just, doing everything and just that Swiss Army knife guy for the Lakers, then I could see in the offseason his value increasing, and really kind of put the Lakers into a position where they're going to have to make some decisions. Again, I'm not saying that you trade him. I'm not saying that you don't, right? To me, it's what is out there and available, right? And what can you get, right? So, again, if you can get Nickeil Alexander-Walker and another 3-and-D guy, and now you get 2 or 3 legit 3-and-D guys that you can put out there, then yeah, I would look to turn Jared Vanderbilt. Can you turn him into a center or a backup center or something like that? But if, say, you trade for, again, we'll just stick with Mark Williams. Say you trade for Mark Williams and then you sign Clint Capella, right? Just examples, right? Well, then now you don't really need the center spot. You need more 3-and-Ds. You probably aren't going to be able to get 2, 3 3-and-D guys. So let's say you get 1 or 2. Then Jared Vanderbilt might still make sense. And he might still have value there. He might be a piece that we still need. So just think it depends on in the offseason. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that the Lakers should look to trade Jared Vanderbilt in the offseason? Do you think, no, keep him at all costs? How do you feel? Either way, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.